From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Well, with the pandemic raging in the state, 20 new COVID deaths in one day, the governor enacting new rules to stop the spread of coronavirus. What those rules are, coming up.
I'm Mike Dennison at the Capitol. In the midst of a pandemic, how will Montana lawmakers and the public carry out the upcoming legislative session safely?
Well, good Wednesday morning. It is our Hump Day edition of Montana This Morning, and you have made it halfway through the week, and so have we.
I think.
Goodness gracious.
Glad you prefaced that. Yeah.
Yeah. Holly Brantley, Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell. We all have remembered our names all day today, so things are going
Time
good.
for everything. Temperatures this morning. Wow, where are we?
Right.
But we don't know where we are.
Yeah. 39 in West Yellowstone, very uncharacteristic of this time of year. 55 in Belgrade. We do have a little wind to deal with early in the morning. We'll probably see a few showers as you head into the afternoon. This is a look at our futurecast. It's not heavy. It's not going to be overly productive, but enough that you'll probably see a few drips and drops in a few areas. Another round of snow possible tonight. Not a lot of accumulation, but our temperature staying mild into the 50s for most of the day. We're going to be up and down with our temperatures as you head into the afternoon. We're going to break it all down from the Billion Auto Group Weather Patio coming up in a little over 12 minutes.
All right, we'll take it. Thanks, Matt. Well, it's back to remote learning for two Bozeman elementary schools.
Yeah, Bozeman Deputy Superintendent of Operations Steve Johnson says Longfellow and Meadowlark have been hit by COVID-19 quarantines, and it's reached a point where adequate staffing is an issue. Both schools will be fully remote today through Tuesday, November 24th, and then return to school after Thanksgiving holiday. Meadowlark has 1/3 of the staff absent, no one to fill many of those positions. Monday, Butte school officials decided to stay open until the 24th. That goes into the Thanksgiving holiday, and then they will reassess after that.
Governor Bullock says our healthcare workers are exhausted and our medical supplies are also reaching that point. In order to stop the spread of COVID-19 and help flatten the curve, Governor Bullock says 3 new rules will take effect this Friday. First, the governor has expanded the mask mandate to include all counties statewide, regardless of the number of active cases. He also ordered bars, restaurants, breweries, distilleries, and casinos to limit capacity to 50%, and all businesses must close by 10 p.m. Eating and drinking establishments must limit group sizes to 6 or less, with a mandatory 6-foot physical distance between groups. Bullock also ordered all public gatherings limited to 25 or fewer people and asks that private gatherings limit to 15 or fewer. He said news of 2 possible vaccines are promising, but mass distribution remains a long way off, and rising virus cases are exhausting healthcare workers and supplies.
We're all sick of this virus. We all have to collectively recognize that this virus won't stop spreading through our communities at any time soon unless we take active steps to stop its spread. The responsibility for doing that rests with each and every one of us.
Now, Bullock also announced Montana would use CARES Act money to provide an additional $200 a week in supplemental unemployment assistance, and that the state is working to bring in at least 100 additional healthcare workers to assist hospitals and healthcare facilities across Montana.
Well, as COVID-19 cases continue to surge across Montana, one of the largest and most continuous public gatherings in the state approaching the date for its biennial meeting, namely the legislature.
Well, how will the 2021 legislature operate starting in January with the pandemic raging? As MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison tells us, the details are far from settled.
In normal times, the Montana legislature means hundreds of legislators, other elected officials, lobbyists, staffers, and the public all crammed into the Capitol for 4 months. This year, no.
Our legislative session for 2021 cannot look the same. It cannot look the same.
Neiman, the county public health director in Helena, says it's a super spreader event waiting to happen and is urging lawmakers to find ways to limit the number of people in the Capitol while still conducting their business. But the county doesn't have jurisdiction over the legislature or maybe the Capitol, so it's up to legislative leaders and incoming Governor Greg Gianforte to decide what to do. Gianforte's transition team says he wants to ensure the health of lawmakers, staff, and others at the session, but didn't provide any details on what that means. Incoming Senate President Mark Blaisdell, a Republican from Kalispell, says most GOP lawmakers intend to be at the session in person, but that accommodations will be made for legislators who don't, such as remote voting.
Obviously, we're going to have to respect each and every person because some are going to have more concerns than others. And just like you see in Montana, we have a very diverse feeling on the whole COVID issue.
Yet even something as simple as wearing a mask is a point of contention.
I think that mask wearing is going to be essential, and I hope that we can follow the science on that.
I know there's members on my side of the caucus that will not wear a mask, as well as on the other side, there's some that are adamant that everybody does wear them. So that's a real challenge.
The public is required to wear masks in the Capitol, but legislators apparently are exempt if they choose. But what about the public's access during the session? Blaisdell and Abbott say it's vital to maintain that access, and legislative staff is investigating ways that can happen online or in limited numbers or in larger rooms in other state buildings outside the Capitol.
Obviously, we're going to need to limit numbers, and how we do that with equity in a fair way for everyone that has an interest in participating in legislative business is a question that we have to answer.
Neiman also says it's not just Helena that could be affected by how the legislature chooses to operate.
We have legislators traveling in from all parts of the state into one location, and going back from Helena back to their communities. And so with that comes risk.
Lawmakers from both parties meet Wednesday to choose their leaders for the 2021 session, and they'll get together in the coming weeks to hammer out the operational details. Blaisdell says it likely will come down to how each legislator chooses to do his or her job.
Each member is signed up to represent, and I think it's important that they get to represent in the way and the fashion that they believe they can do the best job for their constituent.
One Republican lawmaker told me it's inevitable that people will become infected with COVID-19 at the session. But as one Democratic lawmaker said, we dedicate our lives to this work. No one should have to give their life for it too. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
6:36 now. Montana has more COVID-19 deaths in less than 24 hours. The state total now 572. One of those deaths in Madison County, another in Deer Lodge County. There are currently 150 new COVID cases in Gallatin County, 1,110 active right now. 28 people with the virus are in local hospital. Butte-Silverboe County has at least 599 active cases. Montana State Health report shows 1,500 new cases, 50,000 total cases.
Well, turning to Thanksgiving now, food is always in focus for Thanksgiving, but this year the ingredients are a bit different on the topic. While Montana doctors urge families to keep gatherings within their own household and avoid travel, dietitians say you can still use food to connect. At Bozeman Health, clinical dietitian Lindsay Kordick suggests families prepare traditional dishes and favorites over virtual dinners. What's more, she says you can totally have the green light to enjoy your favorite foods.
Food does have that strong association with family and culture and traditions. And, you know, if we decide to, you know, have that meal on our own or just with our close family and, you know, aren't able to share that with our extended family, you know, maybe reducing portions is a good idea versus, you know, making a whole different meal that has healthy substitutions. I think, you know, that can lead to feelings of deprivation down the road, which may lead to overeating. And so food is a great way to share experiences with your family, even if you can't be close.
Now, if you're planning to get together, doctors do recommend having one person prepare and serve the meal to limit exposure and suggest each family bring their own meals and also dinnerware. I spoke more with Kodak about this year's food trends and also how you can prepare similar small meals for smaller gatherings. You can see that full interview anytime on our website.
Good advice in that, for sure.
Isn't that fun?
Yep.
Do you have your menu planned yet?
I think we're pretty much going to stay with the standard. It's just obviously a smaller down version.
Mashed
with just our
potatoes,
cohort.
right?
Mashed potatoes and then some turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes, actually, I think one of the #1 requested Thanksgiving foods.
There you go.
With good reason.
For obvious reasons,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Good stuff.
Same. All right, well, it's a holiday tradition, but will the coronavirus change it? Coming up, find out how the pandemic will affect this year's Santa tracker on Christmas Eve.
But first, let's check in with Anthony Mason to see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS this morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, a warning from the White House Coronavirus Task Force. The spread of the virus is now aggressive and unrelenting nationwide. Some hospitals are overwhelmed with the surge in cases. How doctors and nurses are tackling the emotional strain. Also, Nora O'Donnell joins us. We'll discuss her CBS News investigation on the U.S. military's failure to respond to sexual assaults. Hear from a mother who says the military's handling of her daughter's assault ultimately led to her death. And many families will have to make some difficult decisions about how and where to spend the holidays, how to explain to your kids that the holidays might look a little different this year, like just about everything else. All that coming up when we see you at 7.